There are some philosophy students who are very attentive. They hardly move at all. They really concentrate in class. There are other philosophy students who can't stop eating in class, although they tend to be attentive as well. And there are some philosophy students who just turn to drink, and then they start acting very silly. They're hyperactive. Finally, there are some philosophy students who will just trample all over you, no matter what you do. Hopefully, they are paying attention as well. Nevertheless, all philosophy students, especially the human ones, understand the importance of the existential question. It was my intention that my previous video will be the last video in Singapore for the time being. However, the monkey god spoke to me and asked me to use some of the footage I've made of various monkeys. Following my previous video, I've had a few email requests as to whether I could explore the issue of existential angst or existential horror a little bit more. I'm glad to do so. So do you feel that life is like you're always climbing stairs but not actually going anywhere? That life is meaningless? How do we overcome this sense of meaningless? How can we find meaning? In discussing this issue, I will draw upon some of the points I've made in earlier videos, but I also go into much more detail and introduce a lot of more new material. I hope you enjoy it. Now, perhaps what I should emphasize, as I've said in previous videos, is that in addressing this issue of existential angst or existential horror, I'm not necessarily offering a therapeutic solution. I'm trying to offer philosophical resources. So at the very least, these philosophical resources are some extra tools in your mental toolbox to help you cope with life's trials and tribulations. In particular, I often make reference to the Stoic philosophers of more than 2,000 years ago, because I think they had some particularly good, insightful advice to offer. So, just briefly as to where I am, I'm on a beach on Coney Island. In the distance behind me is Malaysia. You can also see the Singaporean island, Pulau Ubin. There are not many beaches in Singapore. I wouldn't say Singapore is renowned for its beaches, but there are some little oases that one can visit. And this is an example. Okay, existential horror. I have more than once in my life woken up feeling like death, but nothing prepared me for the early morning in June when I came to consciousness feeling as if I were actually shackled to my own corpse. Hitchens was suffering from terminal cancer when he had that shocking experience. It's not necessary, though, to have the catalyst of cancer and its attendant symptoms to experience the angst of mortality. Even in the pink of health, you are hurling through time in a body on its way to becoming a corpse. In the loneliness of the night, you can wake up and ponder, what's the point? It can be so easy to slip into pessimism and ultimately nihilism, namely the conviction that life is meaningless. Damn depressing, right? At first blush, it is depressing. It can be catastrophically depressing for some. Life is hard, and we should neither sugarcoat it nor be in denial about this. Rather, every tragedy should already be priced in, so that one can remain joyous in response to all that fate might bring. The Stoic Roman philosopher Seneca expressed it so well. What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. He said this to his family as he was forced by his former tutee turned Roman Emperor Nero to commit suicide in front of them. In his book, The Myth of Sisyphus, Albert Camus asserted that there is only one really serious philosophical question, and that is suicide. Judging whether life is or is not worth living amounts to answering the fundamental question of philosophy. You recall that Camus thought that life is absurd, that is meaningless. The issue then is, how do we respond to such absurdity? Camus saw three responses: physical suicide, ending one's life; philosophical suicide, rejecting rationality and finding meaning by embracing faith in a God, broadly defined; or acceptance, embracing the absurd. For Camus, physical suicide and philosophical suicide would be simply avoiding the problem, rather than trying to overcome it, and so would not be recommended. On the other hand, if we embrace the absurd and accept that there is no meaning, or more precisely, no absolute meaning, then we can truly find freedom. We have the freedom to create our own meaning. However, the process of trying to create meaning is, in itself, I would suggest, sufficient. Sisyphus was disrespectful towards the gods, and had even put Death himself in chains. The gods had condemned Sisyphus to ceaselessly rolling a rock to the top of a mountain, whereupon the rock would roll back down, and Sisyphus would have to start all over again. The idea was that there's no greater punishment than futile and hopeless labour. The torment does seem soul-destroying, but Camus has a positive spin, and it's one that we should take on board. You've already grasped that Sisyphus is the absurd hero. He is as much through his passions as through his torture. His scorn of the gods, his hatred of death, and his passion for life won him that unspeakable penalty in which the whole being is exerted toward accomplishing nothing. This is the price that must be paid for the passions of the earth. For Camus, the struggle itself towards the heights is enough to fill a man's heart. One must imagine Sisyphus happy. There is, in my opinion, a valuable psychological point that Camus makes. Sisyphus knows the whole extent of his wretched state. He knows that when he has pushed the rock nearly to the top, it will roll back again. He will never succeed. But Camus asks us to consider how much worse for Sisyphus it would be if he was filled with false hope, namely the hope that one day the rock would not roll back and he would indeed succeed. This echoes Stoicism, namely that some things are under our control and some are not. We should not entertain false beliefs about what we can and cannot control. We should be wary of living in the future on the basis of hope, but instead focus on the present. Live in the present. As a corollary, we should learn to be gentle on ourselves when failure occurs. I also like the idea of defiance, and possibly thereby becoming heroic, behind Camus' consideration of Sisyphus's position. I suspect that no one can furnish you with an answer that will resolve all your angst regarding the existential question. That may be nigh on impossible. We may not want to conclude that life is indeed absurd, but it's important to be honest and acknowledge that, at least sometimes, we face a world we do not want to accept. Some important insights are also to be had from the German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche famously wrote, "God is dead. God remains dead. and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? Nietzsche is making the point that in abandoning the old certainties of purpose in life, we can become unduly pessimistic. Like Camus, we have to construct our own set of ideas to resolve this existential issue. Our set of ideas may not be particularly original, but we will take ownership of them because we have injected a bit of ourselves into them. Fortunately, we do not have to start from scratch because we can draw upon the thoughts of great minds from the past and the present. And you may be pleasantly surprised how profound and consoling some of those thoughts are. This is a path that has been trodden many times before, albeit, I grant, with varying degrees of aplomb. We should, as the Stoic philosopher Musonius Rufus commended us, practice our craft of the art of living. Now, you may say to me, all right, Martin, I understand that we can choose how we react to events and that we have a certain freedom in forming our own meaning of life. But I need some specific guidance. Well, I would say, first of all, look at my YouTube videos, in particular the Meaning of Life video. And also I would identify certain themes, certain ideas, which I think should be given added emphasis. So, for example, the importance of understanding that you are truly unique. Unique me. That would fit nicely on a t-shirt as a suitable slogan. You should be proud of your uniqueness. You are indeed unique. In the whole history of the human race, there has never been, nor ever will be, someone quite just like you. The combination of your genes, your environment, and your memories result in the special you. Indeed, just getting here and being born means you have won the lottery of life. Think of all the possible accidents of history down the eons of time that might have resulted in your line not coming to fruition. Nevertheless, here you are. You might not actually feel that you deserve any accolade for your existence, but please run with the idea and simply be grateful. The nagging doubt might persist in you that you are simply a combination of atoms lumped together as a blob on a minuscule planet orbiting an uneventful star in a vast ocean of hundreds of billions of stars in our galaxy, and that our galaxy is one of hundreds of billions of other galaxies. Set against the enormity of time that the universe will exist, running into trillions of years, if not forever, you will not even rate a blink of an eye. But here's a counter-argument. Size does not matter. You are the universe contemplating itself. You are part and parcel of the universe, being literally made out of star stuff, and are not distinguishable from the universe at the fundamental level. Almost all of the material constituting the universe is mindless. Even if there are billions of planets out there with self-reflective intelligent life, it is still true in the totality that consciousness is extraordinarily rare. So the universe has become self-aware through you. That's utterly astounding. That makes you tremendously valuable. Another point to understand is that you can find the extraordinary in the ordinary. Something doesn't have to have cosmic importance to be meaningful to you here and now. Yes, when the universe ends with its heat death, all our strivings and doings will have long been forgotten and will be meaningless. But they are not meaningless in the present moment where we find ourselves. Why should life be meaningful only if it is on a cosmic scale and will last forever? If you save a drowning child, tell a good joke to a group of friends, say a cheery hello to a lonely pensioner, or hold your child's hand to comfort her when she drops her lollipop, it is preposterous to argue that these happenings are not meaningful. They are meaningful to you and others now. So enjoy life. celebrate life. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and please subscribe.